So I've decided that since they like to do this on Sailor Moon Crystal, I'm going to prove a point by stopping and doing some kind of a weird pose. Because it's really damn annoying. And at this point, by the time they finish their speeches, an enemy should have attacked. Yes. I'm sorry. That really gets me every time I see that. Anyway, Sailor Moon Crystal, Season 3, Episode 2, Act 27, Infinity 1, Premonition, second part. This is my review of it. And it's really interesting what they're doing. They're not just sticking within the parameters of the chapter. I thought it was just going to be a continuation of the first chapter, but it actually goes into the next chapter, which is actually really neat. And I'm glad to see that they're doing that because it kind of ties everything together a little bit better. So, again, still in this book here. And now we've got the first off, I want to say congratulations to the Tokyo MX team for making Sailor Moon Crystal a weekly show. Thank goodness. Nothing was more irritating than having it only twice a month and not even like every other week. It was like the first and third Saturdays of the month or something like that. Sometimes there were 5 Saturdays, and that just messed with the whole schedule and drove a lot of us nuts. But now it's an actual TV show, so along with getting an actual budget this time, with better animation and so on and so forth, they have a proper schedule. So thank you to whomever is responsible for that. That was much needed. Now, Usagi and Chibiusa's dynamic is back. The rivalry is there, but this time it's more fun than it is kind of cringeworthy. I mean, it was really cringeworthy a lot, with the Chibiusa kind of alluding to loving her father a little too much, more than what she normally should. But now the rivalry is kind of amping up again for the comedy style of it. It's more of just Chibiusa likes to goad Usagi on that she's spending time with Mamoru rather than Usagi, and she knows that it pisses her off. So it's good that the comedy is there. Now, some people didn't notice this before. It's amazing, actually. I was talking to a few other fans, and I'm sure maybe some of you guys have noticed this. But when they talk about the buildings around the delta, the Tennozu, the Kaiyozu, and the Meiozu, that correlates with the last names of Tenno Haruka, Kaiyo Michiru, Meio Setsuna, so Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. It works. It works really well. They must be really rich to have their own buildings, don't you think? And their own helicopters. I mean, were they born rich? I don't know. It's one of those things that you suspend belief in, I suppose. But they're cultured. They could come from wealthy families on Earth. Who knows? Who knows? We'll leave it at that. When Kaori Knight is talking to the Witches 5, she has the cards pop up, and I'll show you the one that pops up in the manga here, because it is, excuse me, a little bit different. So she shows the Sailor Senshi and stuff, but there is a difference in how the cards look. So if you compare this here, these cards, to the ones that you see on the actual show that came out, they are a little bit different, which is totally fine. It's just probably a choice that the animators decided to make with it. But what's interesting is, I guess it does follow the manga more in this than it does in the original series, because if you watch the original Sailor Moon S anime, the witches kind of don't listen to Kaori Knight. In fact, they kind of are rude to her. It's more of Professor Tomoe that they talk to. I mean, we haven't even seen him yet. Kaori Knight is their leader, pretty much, as the Magus, or Magus, or however you want to pronounce it. And so they have a high respect for her, at least for now. We'll see how things go. In the scene when they're all like learning that, they'll get all this extra power if they stop the Sailor Senshi, it's supposed to be Teruru that says, leave it to us, but it's Udial, or Ujiel, however you want to pronounce it. Which is more closer, I guess, to the original series, because she was the first witch to kind of go out and do all the stuff. And they kind of tie that in a little bit since she's the one that brings the diamond pod to the cat, which again we'll get to a little bit later. Ami has a tablet, so in that sense they're kind of trying to bring things into present day, kind of like Sailor Moon, or Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon sort of did, the live action series, when they replaced the transformation pen with a cell phone. And I kind of thought they might go that route again, but they actually went back to the pen. So they're kind of jumping into the future a little bit, like present day from what the original series was, but at the same time keeping some of the elements that people really loved from the original classic. So they're balancing it out really well, I will say. That's pretty good. The cell phone thing had a bit of cheese factor to it, but come on, let's be honest. All of Sailor Moon, the live action series, had a big cheese factor to it, which I kind of loved. I'm not going to lie. Now, one thing that's interesting, they always go on about how Rei is the psychic. But it's Minako that has the sharp sense that knows when they're being watched. So Rei can tell all the other stuff that's going on, but she doesn't realize that Haruka and Michiru are watching them. And that's the other thing. In the manga, they do show the silhouettes of them watching them, but in the anime, they don't. So it's it just seems a little bit weird out of context. Just Minako's like, someone's watching us. I don't know if they're trying to be more mysterious with it, which they might be, but it does seem a little bit strange. Asanuma, I'm glad they kept him in it. Now, he sounds very young, very playful, kind of that lower classman to Mamoru. I'm glad that he's got a friend there that's different from Motoki, because he was never really brought in the original anime series. So, but he's kind of just one of those, like, not even a secondary character like Umino and Naru-chan. He's more like a third character, fourth character, kind of just here and there randomly. So they don't realize it yet, but the waterfall and the water fountain that's inside the front of Mugen Academy when Usagi goes in, as she's all transformed and stuff into her Mugen Academy outfit, belongs to me. Mine. I call dibs on it. It's inanimate, but it's mine. So back off. The animation is so much more fluid. When the violin music gets played especially, and Usagi's going to go towards it, you can really see it as she's coming around the bushes and you see part of the building. There is still that level of CGI, kind of 3D-ish, being thrown in there, akin to what you'd see on Family Guy nowadays, or even South Park to some degree, where it incorporates the 2D with the 3D and all that stuff, and that is handled very, very well. Gone are those horrendous CGI shots that they threw in the transformations in the first two seasons, and now we have this nice piece in here, so I'm really happy about that. Haruka and Michiru give their warnings like they do in the manga, so this one does follow the rest of the chapter very, very closely. Until... there's ominous music that plays, of course, after the whole thing, when Haruka warns the four inners and Michiru kind of warns Usagi. There's a bit of ominous music, which leads into the commercial card. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this in the last one, but I'm a little upset, because one thing that I loved about the original series was the playful commercial things. I think I did mention this. And this one doesn't have that. There's kind of a chime when it comes back from the commercial when it shows Michiru, Neptune, but when it's Haruka or Uranus at the beginning part, there's nothing. But it works with this one because it finishes that little ominous tune into it, which leads flawlessly into the commercials. So this time it works, but I still miss the little fun commercial break thing. This is where everything gets nuts. Chibiusa finds Hotaru, all that's pretty much the same. And then in the manga, it's just a demon appears around the corner. You do see a cat, but you don't actually see Eudial or Eugil, whatever you want to call her, implant it into the cat. This time she does. So it's kind of like throwing an homage to the original series anime as well. And it could just be a way of adding extra time to it. Because I was watching it and thinking, well, this episode is like pretty much half over, but the chapter's almost done completely. So what are they going to do? Well, my question was answered pretty quickly. Because this cat demon appears and Usagi and Chibiusa are running, whereas in the manga they transform right away, but in this one they run into the other four. And thus, what do you do when you're looking to fill some time? You throw in stock footage transformations. Let's get naked and amuse the otaku, as they would say in Sailor Moon Stupid, the radio play. If you ever get a chance to listen to it, you should. It's 4 episodes long. It's ridiculous, but it's a lot of fun. It's ridiculous, but it's a lot of fun. You understand? Okay. So, now at 13 minutes and 57 seconds, the transformation sequences begin, including a full transformation for Chibiusa into Chibi Moon, which we only saw, at first, in the S movie, because during the rest of the S season, she had short transformation sequences. It was like an instant sort of thing. Now she actually has a full one in this, so that was a nice little touch. But having her Moon, Chibi Moon, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, and Venus brings the transformation ending at about 17 minutes and 12 seconds, so 13, 14, 15, 16, so that's about 4 minutes, almost 5. And then the speeches start right at that time at 17 minutes and 12 seconds, and they end at 18 minutes and 22 seconds, so it's over a minute of speeches, and like I said, it's like a minute of the overly done hand gestures as they do their speeches. Because they have to be as enunciatingly annoying as possible. Anyway, sorry. I notice these things. It gets me going. Maybe I'm just putting too much into it. That's what happens when you're a big fan of stuff. So the battle is very different, and the Witches 5 appear, which they don't appear in the manga part, but it's kind of neat having that little part there. They're studying what's going on, which gives them some more semblance of being smart, because they're actually watching all this stuff live. And we see Mercury, Aqua, Mist, Burning Mandela, which is the same sound effect as the original series. So happy for that. Sparkling Wide Pressure and Love Me Chain. And I think Sparkling Wide Pressure and Love Me Chain got fuller animations than they did in the second season. Again, they're a lot closer to the original, which is really, really, really nice to see for fans. Avid fans like me, and the ones that prefer the homage to it. So I love that they're throwing all these things in. They're actually listening to the fans for once. It'd be nice if soap operas would do the same thing. Just putting that out there. And so Sailor Moon ends up doing the Moon Spiral Heart Attack for the first time, which is great. She asks Queen Serenity for power, and so she does her Spiral Heart Attack, ending in the same pose. But this time, the heart actually spins rather than like a big ribbon of it. But it's still really neat. And then it like plows into the demon, and it just turns back into a cat. The demon egg pops out and disappears. It doesn't turn into a bird again, but it disappears. And the cat's just like, kind of echoing what Hotaru says. Who the hell are you? Or what the hell happened? That was funny. Who the hell are you? Like Hotaru saying that to Chibiusa, because she watched the whole thing. So she saw the transformations, unlike in the original series where it took for fucking ever for her to realize that they were the Senshi, and vice versa. But Chibiusa's like, oh, hey, you know, we're a Sailor Senshi, blah, 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 and Usagi's trying to interject and smooth things over, but Chibiusa's like, go away. And it worked out really well, the little comedic moment, insert things, so I'm really happy that they've infused all that again. And Hotaru sees that Chibiusa's hurt, although it's on this arm instead of this arm this time, and she heals her. So we know that Hotaru has this healing ability, which is good to see. And this actually is the first part of the second chapter, so right from when Sailor Moon uses her Spiral Heart Attack is the beginning of the next chapter. So they are not following the exact chapters like they did in the original series, which is really nice to see. And so at this point, they see Sailor Uranus and Neptune kind of shrouded. Uranus has a cape on and with a mask, kind of looking like Kaito Ace, more so than Tuxedo Kimen. Kaito Ace, of course, being from Sailor V. And they fly off, and Michiru has this weird smile on her face, and the Senshi are like, oh my gosh, they look like, and you could think either way, hey, that looks like Haruka and Michiru, but they're probably thinking, hey, they're Sailor Senshi, just like us, because we've never seen that before, except for Sailor Pluto, so why would there be other Sailor Senshi out there when there's planets that are named after, there's a Uranus and Neptune and Saturn, Anyway, so it ends on a very good note, kind of with this scene here after they've discovered whom, they kind of now see each other, and so it's going to start off pretty much, I guess, from where Chibiusa's cut is healed, and that'll be in the next episode, which should be next week, and hence this episode is done, and very well done. These 2 episodes so far already trump everything that was done in the first 2 seasons. I'm so happy to see it. I'm so happy that Sailor Moon Crystal is actually becoming the series that it can be and should have been from the beginning. Very excited, especially with these two. I got this when I was at the Sailor Moon Cafe in Shibuya last Thursday. And this is like a little placemat thing. Really, really nice because I got the dessert that goes with them. Also, I got the drink that goes with Michiru, so I got this little piece here. It was a melon pop. It was delicious. And for 400 yen, when you buy a drink or when you buy the dessert, if you pay an extra 400 yen, you can get these. These are like file folder things. So I, of course, had to pick them up. And so happy that I did. Here's the official Season 3 animation. And then there's this as well. So that's it for now, you guys. Thank you for watching. Let me know again down below what you thought of my review, what you think of Sailor Moon Crystal in general, and we'll fanboy and girl together because that's what this is all about. I'm also going to bombard you with more videos coming up, probably starting tomorrow, if not tonight, of my trip, my vlog from my trip to Japan. So I really apologize for the shaky camera-ness angle of it. And I may have to break up day 3 because that was my Tokyo Disney day and I took a lot of footage. So I don't know how long it's going to be, but we'll see. Anyway, thank you everybody. Jamatane. Have a great day. Bye-bye.